You're listening to Estrogen Dropouts.
Welcome back to Estrogen Dropouts. I'm one of your hosts, Elizabeth.
And I'm your other host, Erin. And today we are talking about window of tolerance, which some of you listening may never have heard that term. I actually didn't know it as a term. I knew it as a concept and I've lived it. But window of tolerance is a model that was coined by Dr. Dan Siegel that describes the optimal zone where your nervous system is balanced, allowing you to function effectively, manage stress, process emotions, learn and connect with others. And when you're outside this zone, you can become dysregulated. You can experience either hyperarousal, which would be like anxiety, panic attacks, feelings of fight or flight, or you can have hypoarousal, which is where you're kind of dissociating, you're numb, you're kind of shut down to things that are going on around you. So you kind of check out. And this topic kind of came about because I've had a lot of conversations with women. I talk about menopause. I talk about perimenopause a lot just with girlfriends because we're all going through it. And several of them have said, and even my own sister recently, it was like, I don't feel like myself. And it's like, yeah, because you're not yourself anymore. You know, you're not your old self when we start getting into this time period of our lives.
Yeah, I feel like I'm definitely, it's kind of like do you feel like it might be coming back a little bit, or I'm getting, not really coming back, I'm getting closer to finding it, my spark again, or that unique like magic that I have, because everyone has their own, little ray of sunshine or something that makes you sassy or that makes you bright and feel happy. And I feel like I had lost that for quite a few years. And I do feel like it's kind of coming back, but it's more of like a discovery on my end because I felt numb, tired, just you lose your tolerance for bullshit. If you feel unappreciated, I think we're probably described as bitchier, but it's really because we're done.
We're fed up.
Yeah, we're fed up. We're done. We're tired of explaining ourselves. We're tired of repeating ourselves. We want help. We want to be seen. We want like to be heard and listened to and valued and like all of these things. So if any of those needs are not being met, then we're done, which is why I think divorces are probably so high and in women over 50, but also friendships, why I think many friendships fall apart, because if have draining friends, we end those too. I think we're just done with the bullshit.
Yeah, we walk away. It's like our whole entire life up until like the menopausal, we've been conditioned to get along and to just kind of, put on the smiley face, like just go along to get along. Like don't rock the boat. I mean, I'm definitely a reforming people pleaser. I never want to like rock the boat just to rock the boat. And I'm always actually kind of envious of people who were younger who would like express their like dissatisfaction or their displeasure. And I was always like, I wonder what that feels like to just be able to do that. Now I know. And you're called a bitch or women are, definitely demonized, perimenopause, menopause when we start to lose our hormones. But it is a real phenomenon because I think we have been giving so much and just doing so much for our families. There always is unequal labor in, relationships, and most of the emotional labor, physical labor, maybe not the financial labor. Like, so for me, the financial labor has definitely always been it's been for since we've had our second child, carried by my husband, but most of the emotional labor with the children, most of the physical labor around the house, cleaning up, doing laundry, doing all of the dishes, doing all the cooking, as he was off, making the money and I was at home tending the fires, like back in the caveman days. And so then we reach a point where our hormones just, don't give us that tolerance anymore. And so
Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder do men get this? Because I do feel like my husband's always like, look, I want you to stay home. Like, I don't want you to feel like you have to work. That's definitely not what I want. And, I love it. He always teases me and says I'm in my trad wife era, which is code for traditional wife, because whenever the kids were younger, I always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, but then there was like, I'd get bored with it. And so then it was like, I'd work for a little bit and then I'd go, okay, this is too much. And then I'd be a stay-at-home mom again. And he was always like, you don't have to work. I'm like, I'm not working because I have to. It's because I want to, and then but most of my adult life, I've not worked. Wait,
You've
yeah,
worked,
brain.
but you haven't worked outside the home earning a paycheck.
Yes, but so he always says to me, like, he's like, not always, but every once in a while he'll say, it is like very stressful to be the sole provider financially. And like to know that like all of this like falls on to him. And
Right.
so he's like, if I can't just like, he goes like, you have the luxury of like, oh, just trying this for a little bit, that doesn't work, go try that for a little bit. And he's like, but all of this falls on my shoulders. And so, and he's like, I'm happy to do it, but that's a lot of pressure. And so I wonder if, I don't know, I wonder if men just say F it, like women, like we're kind of like,
Well,
but
they
or they
die
just,
before us usually because of the stress, probably.
yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, I definitely think that men have their own challenges that, we definitely can't relate to. It's not the same as us, but I do think as they start to have fluctuating hormones, testosterone, things like that, they start getting tired. They don't have the energy. And, I think that's that stereotypical for them. um, stereotypically they buy a sports car or they get a young girlfriend to invigorate them again. Whereas women, we don't want, we don't want another man or we don't want a sports car. We just want people to take care of themselves. Like, just take care of
Yes.
yourself. Let me just take care of myself.
Yeah, I saw this video of this teenager was filming her mom crashing out in the car while she was driving, and her mom was in her 50s, and she was driving, and she's like, "I just wanna fucking be left alone." She's like, "I don't wanna do anything for anyone." She goes, "I don't give a shit about luxury items. I don't care about cars. I don't care about name brand anything. I don't care about houses. Like, I don't care about any of that. All I want is sleep and I want to eat what I want to eat when I want to eat it. And I don't want to cook for anyone. I want everyone to get their own food and do their own dishes." And she's like, and I want to be comfortable. I want to be physically comfortable. That's all I want. I don't give a shit about anything else. And she was like crashing out in her car and her teenagers like filming her laughing. And she's like, oh, yeah, I just, like you're just laughing and having. And she's like, anyway, but it was such a real moment. It was such a real moment of, like of what all of us go through.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things is I think that we don't realize is all of this is caused by loss of estrogen. And estrogen, we have estrogen receptors throughout our whole body. And when we start to lose estrogen, and I mean progesterone to a lesser degree, we can have 40 symptoms. Of menopause. We've talked about that before, that range from everything from brain fog to aching joints to insomnia. And so it's like we have that window of tolerance. We're outside our window of tolerance because now not only are we expected to do all these things, take care of everyone, right? Feed everyone like that woman was crashing out, but we're doing it without the hormones that we had in our youth that gave us that resiliency. It's like we don't have that resiliency anymore, that natural resiliency that lets us just go along to get along.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate that Chris like cleans up after himself and is like a co-partner like in house chores and stuff with me. I mean, I primarily do most of it, but he picks up after himself. But I can't imagine I see women that are like they're married to adult children basically. Like their husbands do literally nothing, like nothing. They don't put their dishes away, they make a mess in the kitchen and don't clean it up. I'm like, if I was married, well, when I would never be married to that because
Yeah, I mean,
I don't enjoy parenting like adults, or mentoring adults like that. That would drive me nuts. But I think that's insane. I would lose my mind. I for sure would get a divorce at that point.
yeah, well, I think that's why so many women in midlife, I'm in so many midlife groups on Facebook, and so many women in gray divorce is like the largest, accounts for the largest amount of divorces every year is like people over 50. And I think it is because they've reached the tolerance that they just don't have it anymore. But I've always, thought of it like I do. And Jeff does pick up after himself. He's good. He's a very good partner too. But because I haven't worked outside the home since I was pregnant with my second one, I always just thought of it as this is my work, to do the laundry, to do the grocery shopping. I'm not going to expect him to work 50 hours a week and then do, all the stuff at home. But it's the problem comes in is when it's like the women who, and for a time when I did work full time and he was in school and things were unequal. and they did cause problems. But for the women who are our age, who not only are working full time and then they're doing more than, 60 to 70% of the things at home, plus they're caring for aging parents, and especially for women, because even if there is like a son and a daughter, statistics show, we've talked about this, that the woman is going to be the one who's going to be stepping in. And then they're still taking care of kids because, you and I are basically empty nesters, but a lot of women our age still have teenagers at home, high schoolers, that are, still at home and require parenting. So it's like all these boxes. And then you don't have any hormones to give you that resiliency. You're like, you're ready to burn the house down.
Yeah, I can tell you, like, if that is true, because if I worked outside, that's why I quit every time I would think I would want a job. And so I would go and do something. And then I'd be like, okay, this is too much because I was still carrying everything at home and you cannot do both. So I feel so, women, if you're listening to this and you're ready to snap on your husband, send him this episode so you can hear from other women that it is not just you. This is very normal. It's hormonal and it's not fair. Like we need help and assistance, especially whenever we are so going through this change. And it's kind of time for you to figure out a new way to come together and do things, a new way to kind of divide up chores or just responsibilities. I know at one time I was like having this was years ago. My gosh. I think my oldest was in 5th grade and I my thing I hate more than anything is laundry. I do dishes all day long. I clean all the bathrooms, like I do everything, but laundry was my thing. And I was like doing laundry for the kids, Chris, me, everyone. Chris was like he was like, make the kids do their own laundry. And he's like, and I can do my own. I remember because I was like, I'm so overwhelmed with all the laundry. And so since Hannah, my oldest, was probably about 10 or 11, Chris started doing his own laundry. So I have not touched his laundry. And the kids, so as soon as then we started a new rule, as soon as you're in middle school, you do your laundry. That's
Yeah.
it. Middle school, that's a rule. And that was because that was my crash out thing. That was the one thing I hated more than anything. So Chris was like, let's take it off your plate then.
Right. So
So
then you
I
only
do
have
my own.
3 kids to do because Hannah and Chris were doing theirs. And then each time they would get to like 6th grade or whatever, then they would start. I taught my kids to do their own laundry also. But sometimes I would still do, like, my youngest was home for college for the holidays. And I would say, hey, do you have I'm putting a load in. And so do you have anything that needs to get washed? And I'll wash it with mine when he's home. I don't mind, especially like whites, because, to make a white load of whites, it can be like a couple weeks for us because I don't wear a lot of
Yeah.
white. Jeff doesn't.
But
And
the difference is it's not expected. And so you're not getting worn down with it because it's not expected that you carry that. So I think whatever burden is on the woman that is expected that she literally hates, you have to make adjustments. You have to bring that to your partner's attention and say, hey, this makes me insane.
right. And I need your help. Well, this is interesting. An interesting statistic is that, because I always wondered about this, but the number of menopausal women is estimated to reach, do you want to guess how many? Like what
No,
number?
a lot. I don't know. I don't even know how to
Okay.
guess.
I was like,
Well,
so
we're
by the year,
living longer. Oh, no.
yes. So no, they're meaning like guess like menopausal women. Yes, you're in menopause the year from your last period to 12 months. Then you're postmenopausal. Like
Okay.
menopause is only one day, I know, because it's you're menopausal, and then as soon as you reach that year mark. But the number of women worldwide by 2030 will be 1.2 billion women.
Crazy. We're
This is
living
worldwide.
longer.
Yeah. So it's like there is going to be a lot of us. And I do love that, menopause has definitely getting so much more press. I mean, celebrities like, what is it, Naomi
Yeah, name my Watts.
Watts? Yeah, she has, all these people. There's all these menopausal companies now
DeGeneres has a lot. Like, there's a lot of people that are having lines now.
because they're in that age range, and they're like, ah. But back to window of tolerance, because that's kind of, I mean, we could go off on all kinds of tangents about menopause, but is that the highest rate of suicide for women in the UK, and this is the only stat I could find, I couldn't find for the US, is between 45 to 49,
Mm.
if that tells you anything. I thought like it would be either teens or I thought it would be like older people who, had lost their passion for living. But it's for the UK, the highest rate of suicide is age 45 to 49. And
That's
that,
so
I think,
sad.
yeah, it speaks to that window of tolerance where I think for me, I just all of a sudden was just like, oh my gosh, like I don't want to take care of anybody anymore. I'm a 2 on the Enneagram, if anybody knows that. That's the helper. I'm a green personality, which is the helper. I love to help people. So it's like part of my personality. And I just all of a sudden one day, it was so weird. I was just like, I'm done. I don't want to take care
Hmm.
of anybody. It was just like, I want to just worry about myself. And like you, it took me a couple years. It was rocky, where I'm just like, just done with it. I was just like up to here. And it's so bizarre if you've never experienced that to all of a sudden just have that. And you think you're going crazy. Like
You
I was
do.
like, am I having a mental breakdown? Like, is this like the start of something that is, like a true mental breakdown? And I realized, no, it's just because I don't have the hormones anymore. And so I don't have that tolerance for this.
Yeah. And so, but that doesn't mean that isn't like you just write it off and you go, oh, this is just what we're going through right now. And you just kind of explain it away. You have to I mean, your life, our lives are changing. So we have to re-examine them and we have to get to know ourselves again and figure out from this point forward, we have to create a new life, a new way of doing things and where we find joy. Maybe we don't have to burn all the bridges with our current friends, but if you've got friends that are overwhelming you or like that are just so sometimes I've got like a couple girlfriends that are just so draining that I'm like I had to pull back several years ago because it was like they were just emotionally unload on me all the time. And my window for emotional tolerance, like or emotional capabilities is very small. Like I just do not have the bandwidth anymore. It's like I'm still the sounding board for my 3 adult kids and then my mom who is a widow and struggles still. I cannot take on anyone else's emotional burden. My emotional cup is like at the limit all the time. I barely feel like I have room for myself in there. So I
Yeah.
cannot have needy friends. And that makes me sad because some of them I know could have been good friendships. I know they're going through things. I just don't have it.
You're like, it's not you, it's me.
It's
And
me.
it's like, I 100% like agree that it's me. You're an energy. I mean, it's like you don't have to tell them they're an energy vampire, but when somebody is just constantly, that's why you do have to look at like when you're around certain people, if you come away feeling more drained or do you feel uplifted and invigorated, and start figuring out. Well, I was going to say some of the signs that you're outside your window, just so that for people who are like, well, what could that look like? It's like where you can feel very easily overwhelmed. And I would get that feeling like of being very, very overwhelmed and then irritable and even like enraged, kind of like angry for no reason. Like nobody had done anything to like make me angry. It wasn't like a legitimate response, but it would just be like, just where you just like snap. And then
And on the flip side of that, in case you don't get ragey, because I never got ragey, I freeze. So when I get overwhelmed, I do get that though, but I just literally shut
shut down.
down.
You
And
go into shutdown and
I, f-
disassociate.
yeah, this is like, unfortunately, I've been in and out of that for 3 or 4 years now.
You're like, I'm just going to pretend like this is not happening.
Yeah.
I'm going to go over here in my happy place in my mind. And like, I don't care that, everything's falling apart. Yeah. I think that it can go either way, depending on your nervous system, how you react. The other thing is you can have, a lot of times when your window of tolerance is difficulty concentrating. And I know that I was having that to where it's like I couldn't keep a thought in my head. And I'm sure you've had that, like brain fog, where you're like, what was I saying or what was I doing? And it's gotten better, but at first it's kind of you and one of my friends not too long ago was talking about that because she's my age, but she's just starting to go through that. She's still getting a period and all that. Is that it's like, do I have dementia? I'm like, no, you don't have dementia.
You know,
It's
it's
not
funny. I just started experiencing that within the past like 3 months. It's like weird. I'm like, it is. It's like, what was I saying? I have literally no clue. It has left my brain and or I'll forget words. And so even like if I do it on my Instagram stories, if I'm like talking, then I like start describing something. I'm like, it's like a hotel, but I was trying to say a bread and breakfast, and I'm like, it's like a hotel with a host family, whatever that is, like an Airbnb with a host family. And then I'm like, because the word has just like left I could not think
and
of
you're
it.
like, and you get breakfast and it
Yeah,
has a bed.
I know. And I'm like, I just could not figure it out. I'm like, I don't know. This is good enough. You get the idea.
Yeah, I would say to Jeff, like, put it in and I could not remember the word refrigerator. I'm like, the thing that keeps food cold. He's like, refrigerator? I'm like, yes. Oh my gosh. How could I like, honestly do think like, wow, okay, like I'm outside my window of tolerance. Like I need to, I need to step back, and take a break. So, but there are ways that you can expand your window of tolerance and like your coping mechanisms. And I'm a huge proponent, and I know you are also, Elizabeth, is, and we've talked about this many times about mindfulness and breath work, how it really does. Anytime that you manipulate your breath, you're manipulating your nervous system and you're switching from your autonomic nervous system that works without you having to do anything. You're switching from that fight or flight to the rest and digest. So from sympathetic to parasympathetic, or if you're, like just a slight increase in your respiration, you can take yourself from, that chilled out to that agitated state. And then the mindfulness is like just being very intentional with like what's going on, like paying attention. And I often teach this in some of my retreats that I host, my conscious retreats, is that there's that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And it's like, find 5 things you can look at. Like if you start feeling overwhelmed, five things that you can see, 4 things that you can touch, 3 things that you can hear, 2 things that you can smell, and 1 thing that you can taste. And that way it grounds you in the moment to where you're not spiraling out of control and getting into, the future or finding yourself in the past.
Yeah, those are great. I need to be
Yeah.
better at I keep saying I want to start doing more breath work and I haven't yet. I need to put that on my list for this year.
Yeah. I usually do it every night before bed. Do like and people can do the box breathing, but I do where I breathe in through my nose and then, kind of hold it at the top for a second and then I purse my lips. It's called cocky breath or duckbill breath. And then I just like blow it out like I'm just, trying to blow out a candle across the room. And it's amazing. I'll do that like 3 times and I just feel myself whoop. It's like I shift right down. I can feel myself really like settle into my body. So it's a great little breath practice that you can do, very easily. Like you don't have to do the complicated, breath where you're counting, sometimes you're
Yeah,
like,
or like
is that a 4 or 5?
like some of this, yeah, that are
Yeah,
like,
some of the more aggressive ones that will get
hmm
you riled up,
yeah,
that make a
the
lot of
box breath
noise.
is pretty. That one's super easy too. That one's
When I can do it in bed and not disturb, my sleeping partner where I'm not like,
yeah,
he's like, "Are you okay?"
yeah,
But also you can add extra omega-3s into your diet and then phytoestrogens, which are available in plants. So you get the estrogen like compounds in your diet, and omega-3s, are good for helping strengthen your resiliency, give you some extra resilience. So you can get that in like fish, fatty food, fatty fish, and think flax seeds. There's other ways you can get it, and that helps you. If you're eating a diet of processed food, you're going to have even less resiliency.
yeah.
Yeah.
I do notice that my mood is. I mean, I've always noticed that it's impacted by food, and I'll be like more depressed or just sluggish or on edge if I drink. So I do love Coke Zero, and so if I'm doing Coke Zeros, or I don't drink multiple a day, but what I'll often do is like get one and I'll drink it like a twist top bottle, and then I'll drink it over 2 or 3 days. But if I do that for too many days in a row, then I start to notice my mood it really does impact me. It makes me more depressed. It's weird.
Which sweetener is Coke Zero?
I'm not sure. I'll have to look.
I just wonder. I can't remember. I mean, because I know that there's Diet Coke and Coke Zero, and one is like aspartame,
I
and
think
one
Diet
is
Coke is aspartame, but I'm not sure.
okay.
But I'm not sure about Coke Zero.
Okay, yeah. It's so interesting that you say that because I haven't had soda. I don't drink soda on the regular at all. And now, I mean, I did drink it probably every day for probably 30 something years. Maybe not every day, but, and I wouldn't keep it at home, but if I was out and about, I love a fountain Coke. Or I
Yeah.
did, where it's like perfectly,
Like
especially
Chris.
McDonald's. Yeah, McDonald's has done the research. They will not only do they refrigerate the carbonation stuff, but also the syrup. They make it cold and then, so they're both cold and that's what makes it so like crisp and fresh. And then their straws, are a little bit
Love their
bigger.
straws.
No, they've done so much. They've like done all the research to make it so
Mhm.
that it is like the best experience. But I don't drink Coke anymore. But I never have been able to drink Diet Coke or Coke Zero. It has such a weird taste to me. Like if I'm gonna have a Coke, I'm gonna have a real Coke.
Yeah. I've always loved diet. I always
Right?
yeah, and so then when the Coke Zero came out, I switched to Coke Zero, and now I love
Did you ever drink regular Coke?
No, because my mom back then, my mom thought Diet Coke was healthier. So whenever I was in elementary school and I started drinking soda, my mom was like, "Oh, you have to have diet because this is the healthier option." And so that's what I did. And now come to find out diet's terrible.
Yeah. Well, because your body doesn't recognize it and it does actually cause a lot more insulin spikes because, but my mom drank Tab.
Mhm.
Do you remember Tab?
I do.
Did you ever have that?
Yeah, no, we had Tab because I'm from Texas. So, I mean, I don't know if they had it here where I live now outside of DC, but I think that's a Southern thing. So I grew up
Yeah,
on
my mom.
Tab, Dr. Pepper, like all of that.
Yeah. Oh, I did love a Dr. Pepper too.
And in Texas, we had something called Big Red.
I've heard of that. Is that a Coke
It's a
product?
red
Like, is it like
soda.
Coke?
It's a red
Oh my
soda.
gosh.
I loved that.
How
That was my favorite.
awful. What does it taste like?
Well, I had one about 5 years ago and it was terrible. It's like red syrup. It's disgusting, but as a kid, I loved it.
What is it like a Shirley Temple?
No, it's like a
It's not like a Sprite with the maraschino cherry
yes.
stuff in it, a grenadine?
Yeah, but I feel like it doesn't taste super cherry-ish, though. You would think it would, but it has a little bit of cherry, but it's a lot of carbonation. Like it's mainly like reminds me of flavored soda water, kind of. I mean, I
Okay.
know that's what basically soda
That's
probably
all it
is,
is.
but it tastes different. I don't know. It's terrible.
Is it high in sugar?
Yes.
Okay. Is it still available even in today's
Yeah. I
health
wonder
conscious?
though if with the red dye, because now with the new food laws coming out, I wonder if they are gonna take it off the market, I wonder.
Which this is
That's
a
a whole other topic, but that irritates me, like, why are all these food companies making like, the soda that we get here is different than the soda in Europe, it's different than the soda even in Mexico, they use sugarcane in Mexico. So, why are we on the chemicals and everywhere else in the world, and our government doesn't care because we don't care because we still buy it, we should all demand I don't know how we would do that, but, I mean, it's ridiculous.
well, I think some of it's changing, but that's what I was going to say. It has always like just baffled me. So, for instance, like if you were making Skittles, I'm just going to say Skittles, and they use these like all these food dyes, dyes. I mean, because to make them bright and shiny. And I'm like, I just don't put all that artificial stuff in it. I
Yeah.
mean, I'd still eat it. I mean, I won't eat Skittles anymore, but it doesn't have to be bright green for me to eat it. You could just have it be like a normal color that occurs from the natural processing of it to where, I mean, I know it's still full of sugar, but it always has like been so weird to me because they say you eat with your eyes first and it makes it appealing. I'm like, no, that's only because we've been trained that way.
Yeah, if we weren't trained that way, then we would just it'd be on taste.
Yeah, I know. I mean, definitely whenever you travel and you see how things are, how different they are, and the ingredients list, between like a Hershey's Kiss here and a Hershey's Kiss in, Italy, you're like, wow, but I mean, even skincare products, it's
Yeah.
we like, we ban 11 ingredients in skincare products, 11 to 12. I did a whole like presentation from a neighborhood on how to minimize toxins in your life. And I did a lot of deep diving. It's like in Europe, they ban like 14 to 1500 chemicals that the United States allows in their skincare products. It's
It's terrible.
crazy.
It's terrible. And I'm
Yeah.
always like, why is there a fragrance? Why are we putting fragrance in like foundations and stuff? I'm like, then whatever you're covering up, it must be pretty bad. If you're putting
Right.
perfume in your fragrance, you're covering something toxic up.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're wanting to like mask the smell of something that's not
Yeah. And
as an
fragrance are
unpleasant.
hormone disruptors. I've seen influencers, say, well, if fragrances aren't like if they don't bother you, just go ahead and use them. I'm like, look, you can choose to use them, which ironically, I was never a perfume wearer because I knew that fragrance was hormone disrupting until about last year. All of a sudden, with my hormone changes and stuff, it was like all of a sudden I really cared about fragrance. And I've been wearing perfume for the past year, and I never really did before. I did occasionally, but now I do it very regularly. I do put it just on my clothes, not on my skin, but you're still inhaling it. But so I just think it's just interesting how that happens. But
Yeah. So
I
all
mean,
of a
because it
sudden
is
you
a
just
known
wanted to
hormone disruptor. So anyway, I always see influencers go, well, if they don't bother you, just go ahead and use them. I'm like, they're bothering everybody. You may not know it, but it is bothering you.
right.
It is
I mean, it's
literally a
like it's
known hormone disruptor.
right. It's the bucket theory too. It's like the first time you wear it, it's not going to bother you. The second time you wear it, it's not going to bother you, but you're building up this like toxic burden in your body. And then you're going to reach a point where it's like overflows and you're going to have the repercussions. Well, are you wearing fragrance that is like natural fragrances?
No, I don't even care. Although Jones Road did just send me some to try, and I believe Jones Road is clean. So I'm going to try theirs. But I guess I just say,
Remember, we got some in Italy.
we
We
did.
got some fragrance. You got perfumes for your
Oh, I
daughters.
did. That's right. I did. I know. I gave it to them. I didn't get any for myself. I did. I got them. But I put them on my clothes. I don't know. I feel like that's better. So
Interesting. Wonder what all of a sudden you were like, I want to smell good.
all of a sudden, it's like it makes me happy. It's weird. It's like the scents improve my mood. I mean, I only smell it when I first spray it and for like 10 minutes and then I don't smell it anymore.
Yeah, that's interesting. Huh.
But right now I feel like I'm so irritated by so many different things because my hormones that I'm like, if this brings me joy, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the other thing is you got to find the small,
Yeah.
like what are small little things that can bring you joy? How can I, find something each day that just brings me a little bit of joy? Because so many things are going to be like ticking me off. So I want to find, something every day that's like, okay, so if it's fragrance, and here's the thing, and as a student of functional medicine, one of the things that like my schooling teaches is that so if you're working with someone who, let's say they have a scotch every night or a glass of red wine every night, whatever it is. And even though we know that alcohol is like terrible for your body and it definitely has no positive effect on your health, like as far as like physiological. But for so many people, it's like that is like a stress reliever, whatever it is. I mean, it could be just like I have chocolate every single day because it's like my happy time. So if it's fragrant, yes, fragrances, they have a negative impact. They are estrogen disruptors. There are some carcinogenic properties in them. But if it brings you joy when you smell it, it outweighs the negative of what it is, right?
It does. It
So
feels
you
like
got to
it
find
in the minute, but like if I get cancer, then I'm going to be like, dang it, I shouldn't have started wearing perfume.
that's probably not what's causing you cancer. It's probably the air
Yeah.
or, the like paint on your inside your house. I mean, there's so many other things that you could attribute it that.
You know what's so interesting about Europe is that they care about all of those things so much, but they drink so much alcohol and they eat so
They
much
smoke.
they smoke cigarettes and they eat so much processed meats. They eat so much sausage, which there are only two things that we have proved without a doubt cause cancer that we ingest. And that is alcohol and sausage, processed meats. And they eat both of
Yeah,
those
ham.
all the time. Sausage links, they eat like prosciutto, like
prosciutto.
everything. I'm like, how are they like they care so in one sense, they are better than us in some ways not.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like, I think everything has to be in balance too. I mean, if you all you ate was like processed meat, but they eat a lot of fresh fruit, fresh fish. A lot of their stuff is made from scratch. A lot of probably people eat at home and, cook. So, it's all about balance. We got to find
Yeah.
balance in our life in so many ways. I was going to also say one other thing that can help expand your window of tolerance is prioritizing sleep. And we've talked about this so many times, but sleep hygiene, like I used to be bad, and I know you talked about this that you stay up late where I would, you get tired, say like as it starts to get dark, whatever, we are light driven. Our circadian rhythm is basically driven by light. When the sun rises, normal people, it wakes us up, and then as the sun goes down,
So we're
but what
just
happens is
overriding that by staying up late.
exactly, you're missing the sleep bus. It's like the sleep bus comes around and we're overriding it with blackout curtains because we're like, I don't want to see the sunshine in the morning. And then the sleep bus comes around at night and we get sleepy, but we push through it. And then we get a little second wind and we're like, no, I'm a night owl. It's like, no, you're really not. You're just overriding your natural circadian rhythm and you're missing the sleep bus. And so it comes around at 8:30 and then it comes back around at 11:30 and then you're wondering like why am I, tired? Why do I not have as much tolerance? And because also then we're also getting disrupted sleep through hormones, hot flashes, having to get up to use the bathroom. So if you could only do one thing for yourself, I would say is start prioritizing your sleep.
Yeah. That's really I want that to be my goal this year because I feel like the past week I have been so tired all week. And I mean, I haven't been staying up that late, but it's like been so restless. And so I don't know. I just figure like we talked off camera last week and you said that you noticed from your aura ring that it was telling you that you were like, "You should take a bath," and I know you sleep better. The Aura Ring shows that you sleep better when you have a bath, and I'm like, "'Cause well, I take baths, but I don't really feel any different afterwards. I don't feel more relaxed." And she goes, "Well," or you said, "Yeah, but I see in the readout, like, it literally is better. Like, I'm sleeping better." So yesterday I had a bath, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna start doing that more regularly to see if that helps me." It was nice hearing that even though I don't have an Aura Ring, still thinking about getting one, but I'm like, that take having a bath, you said that's like, it does relax you and make you more tired. Because I don't feel more tired in the moment, but maybe it does somehow.
Yeah. Well, probably also if you're using Epsom salt a couple times a week, taking, a bath a few times a week, the Epsom salt, you're getting the magnesium that's basically relaxing your muscles. And which magnesium, the best way to absorb it is transdermally. So on your skin,
Mm.
not orally. And when my kids were little, I used to make magnesium oil, just buy the magnesium crystals, and then you just put it in distilled water and it gets kind of this weird feeling and it can make your feet, I would rub it on their feet at night or on their bellies. And it can sometimes I couldn't put it on my feet because it makes them feel like creepy crawly. Like I'd feel like they're like, because it really, you can feel it like being absorbed into your muscles. But it definitely, if you just soak in a Epsom salt bath, it helps relax your muscles.
Yeah, I do
So
that, and just
we got to get you.
I have the spray, and it got on my hands, and then so I'm just this is just a PSA, and then I touched under my eyes, and I burned my skin
Yes.
from the magnesium oil, which I did not know that was a thing. I did feel it kind of like burning a little bit or tingly, like, and I was like, "That's kind of weird." But I was like, "It'll go away in a minute." And so I didn't, like, immediately go wash it off or anything. Well, it was so bad I ended up having to go to the doctor and have a medicated cream for it, and it took a few years, like, of it where they would come and go and back and forth. So I'm very tender around my eyes now. I can't wear SPF right around my eyes. I don't wear any retinol
Because it's
products
sensitive.
because now it's like it just broke that skin barrier.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to be careful about not getting it near your eyes. And so, if you put it on your like your feet or your torso, after you rub it in, wash your hands for sure. So, PSA.
Yeah. Okay, wait. That's all I have to add. Do you have anything else to add on the subject?
No, I just wanted to say if you're listening and this is you, you're not alone. We feel your pain and just know that you can move through this and get to the other side.
Very true. Okay, so well, I have a fun fact for today. So, for all the Karens out there, you are going to be experiencing relief because we are no longer calling it the Karen. It is now the Jessica. Have you heard this, Erin?
Yes, I read that. Yes, I saw that and I was like, our generation is going to be so happy because nobody names their daughter Karen anymore,
Yeah.
but it's now a Jessica.
Yeah, so now it's like
Yeah, I
now the
think that,
Jessica's the annoying person that's like calling the manager and stuff, and they're saying now it's like the torch has been passed down to the millennials, and so that was like the big name of the millennials. That it's Jessica that's calling asking for the manager, and so now they're going to be like, don't be a Jessica. Which this is good for me because one of my
yeah,
best friends' names
I'm,
is Karen, and I always feel bad when I say it because I'm like, she's not a Karen. So I felt so, and I'm not super close to anyone named Jessica, so it's fine.
yeah, you're like, I don't mind. Well, nobody our age is really named Jessica,
Yeah, it's like yeah, it's the
right?
generation behind us. I guess it was a popular name.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. And I mean, it's like nobody nowadays names their child Diane.
Yeah,
That's like a generation above us.
I know, but now all the names that are coming in, everyone's naming their kids like Hazel and Opal and like all these older names. So, they
Yes.
all cycle, it all comes back around.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the names I heard recently was somebody named their daughter Maud.
Yeah,
And
that's
I'm like,
like super old timey.
that's yeah, yeah. But I think it's cute. I mean,
It
I've
is
always loved old
cute.
fashioned names. I never had a daughter to name an old fashioned name, but I would have definitely named one of my kids. Probably, I actually like the name. One of the names that I had picked out for one of them was Claire, and it's kind of an older,
It could go
not as
either. It could go,
popular.
I mean, I think it's been around for a
Yeah.
long time and used for a long time, but it still feels a little hip, Claire. Or I love Clara too, if that's pretty.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Clara. But I think of Claire Barton from back in the
Oh, yeah.
1800s or whenever. So, but well, good. Well, we hope that you enjoyed today's episode. We would love to have you hit the follow button on the podcast if you're not already following us. And that way, each week when we release an episode, you get notified immediately.
And you can follow us on TikTok, Instagram, or watch the full episode yourself on YouTube. And we are always open for feedback and suggestions. So feel free to email us at estrogendropouts@gmail.com or shoot us an Instagram message. And we will see you guys next week. Have a great week.
See you next week. Bye.
This has been a production of Estrogen Dropouts, LLC.